I'm feeling that music and I'm feeling the show.
Always.
Right here. Of course, it's the Golden Era Podcast. It's me. It's Sean Mooney. Mr. Mooney, how you doing today?
Hey, it's good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I can see out of both my eyes, though. I can see. And that's the topic of today, the time that Jake the Snake Roberts went blind in the WWE. And I'll tell you what, that freaked me out as a kid. Freaked me the F out. But for you personally, you know, sometimes you know how the sausage is made. But when you see Jake walking down the hallway, like, hey, Sean, and there he is with one eyeball missing. Like, what does that look like to you personally?
Well, it's not like it was the first time that people had done things to gimmick their eyes. And of course, the Undertaker didn't even need that. He just, did the, I don't know, I still can't do that with my eyes. Yeah. Just completely look white. But yeah, I mean, you've seen that before. And if you look in, if people maybe for the first time who are wrestling fans had never heard of a storyline like this, a gimmick storyline, but you had to look down in the book a ways to find the blindfold match. But it was just a different version of it. But there was a lot more going on as far as behind the scenes with this and where Rick Martel was in his career and the direction he was trying to go. And even considering that he'd had enough of the business already. So he had basically walked away before because he wanted, that he was always looked at as a baby face. And he felt that it was not really going to take him anywhere. He was a mid-carder at best. And so, and he'd always wanted to be a heel and had initially gone to Vince and said, I want to do this. I want to turn. And they were like, what, you're kidding me? You're just not heel material, basically. And we don't think you can pull it off. Him and Patterson say. And so Rick basically said, okay, well, I'm out. And walked away. And I think they were kind of, wait a minute, I think he's serious. And they brought him back in saying, oh, well, we can work with this, but, we're turning Randy and it might muddy the waters. And we don't know if it's, but we'll do it. But just, give us some time. We'll work it up and we'll get into it. And he came back and realized, no, they're just having me do the same stuff again. And I mean it. And I'm out. And I think he tells a story, and there's not many interviews with Rick because when he left, he basically left for good. Didn't just kind of put it all behind him and went into the real estate business. And we can talk about that later, his reasons for that. But, he really said that either I'm going to do this because I think this is the only thing that's going to help me progress in this business, because he'd been at it a very long time and was really serious about it. When he came back like that time I just mentioned, and then he said that he went to do these promos and it was, all out, full-faced baby face. And he said, I'll be right back, guys, and just walked out of the building. So he was serious about becoming a heel, and they valued him as a wrestler, as a hand. And so they eventually did it. Then they had to come up with a gimmick, and that's another story. But this, leading up to this, and we will need to talk about where Jake was at this point in the WWE. So there was a lot going on in this leading up to WrestleMania VII, where these two stepped into the ring and couldn't really see what was going on.
Where are you? Are you over there? Clap. Can anyone clap? Like Tinkerbell,
No, but the crowd, he's over there. He's over there.
Don't you see him? Oh, I'm sorry. You're wearing a blindfold. Yeah. But honestly, like I said, it freaked me the F out seeing that eye, because for so long you'd see someone wearing a neck brace. Oh, no, they're going to pile drive. They have to wear a neck brace. It's a visual. You see it. Oh, you have a cast on your arm, a sling. Things of that nature. Now they wear tape, like just put a bunch of tape around your belly. It's got broken ribs. But this is the first time, at least for me, and maybe mainstream television in the WWF, being the the NFL of all the leagues, showing this on television on Saturday morning, folks, where I lived. Saturday morning, this is airing at 10 o'clock in the morning, and there's Jake. Hey, I can't see, man. And he's got like glasses on. They show his eye. It's missing. And I'm thinking to myself, how did this happen? My eyes are blue. How in the world did the whole damn thing just disappear? I didn't know about movie magic, Mooney. I didn't know about it as a little kid. This really threw me for a tailspin. Like Jake the Snake Roberts in the WWF history has crazy storylines, and this is one of them. And I'm very excited to talk about this. You said, where was Jake when this whole thing started? Where was Rick Martel? Well, let's flash back, because Rick Martel was a pretty prominent tag team with Tito Santana. The Strike being tag champions for a long time. And then eventually heel turn takes place at WrestleMania. Demolition become champions, and they have a hell of a run. But
yeah, they did. There's no question about that. But I think that Rick had always wanted to succeed at the very top as a single, and did have a great run with Tito. He'd had other tag team partners before, that did pretty well, but that was kind of the peak as far as his tag team performances went. And so as they went along, but that was always in his mind, that he felt like, if I'm going to do this, I want to be at the top. I want to be among the top Carters that are the top of of the lineup, and so to speak. And you see at some point, it's just not happening. And I got to do something, or I'm going to walk away from this. His final reasons we'll get into in a bit of why he did walk away. But at this point, he was serious that even, either this happens and I'm going to be able to start climbing up higher as a singles performer, or really I'll walk away from it. At the time, you could still do pretty well independently, going over to Japan and some of these other outfits. So it wasn't like, he was going to just quit the business, but he was tired of the road. There was really no other, outfit that had such demands on its talent. Like, you could certainly make a lot more money, but as far as the physical aspect of it and the mental aspect of it, of doing it day to day, really started to wear on a lot of people at that point, and he was certainly among them. As far as Jake the Snake Roberts goes, and we've had several discussions, Steve, about how his career went, and it just never seemed like he had some of the, as you said, some of the greatest storylines ever. I mean, you could put Jake into any situation. He was really good about coming up with of angles that he could go up against anybody, so to speak, and make it work, and could improvise, and he had it all, as far as and being a master in front of the camera and the microphone. And it just seemed like there was always something that set him back or shut it down, or it just never seemed to just happen for whatever reason. And I don't, he was in a sense snake bit, I think we can say, because, you go on, and he had some very, very successful runs. I'm not saying that. It's just that always when he would, the Warrior is certainly one of those examples, where, the big paydays and in a great run, and then through no fault of his own, it collapses. So, this is where there was still more for Jake to do in the WWE at that point. But this was a pretty good run for both of them, for sure.
And like Jake before this storyline was in rivalry with Andre the Giant. Before that, it was $1 Million Man, Bad News Brown, and those Stinky Rats. Like, he had a lot of great prominent storylines. And then even after this eye thing, we have Earthquake killing Damien. We have this Darkness of Warrior turning heel, having King Cobra try to eat the Macho Man. Like, there is an endless amount of storylines for Jake. Yeah. But you are right. As I talked to him before in interviews, he's always said, well, it always felt like there was something just about, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Then poof, it would just disappear. It wasn't his fault. It was more just something else happened, domino effect. And then boom, he's in that spot where everything was supposed to line up perfectly. And unfortunately it didn't. I'm just surprised you said too about Rick Martel, because Strikeforce was champions for like a year. And when you think about champions at this time around, they did not jump around doing hot potato. If you were champion for quite a long time until another team would beat you, and then they would hold it for a long time. And having Rick Martel saying, thanks for the run, thanks for the titles, but really, like, I would rather do this by myself. And that's a gamble because he's not tall, and that's nothing against him. This is the land of the giants at this point in time. He's not huge. He's not jacked. He's a good hand. And I always thought it was weird watching him like run down, smiling, like kissing babies. Then a year later, he's spraying arrogance in people's faces. Like what a transition when you think one person can't do something, he actually can. So for you, did you prefer the model versus the Strike Force?
Oh, absolutely. I think it was, and when you ask people, how do you remember Rick Martel? You remember him as the model, the arrogant, look at me, the tennis sweater over his shoulders,
Yes.
the spray. Now, and you talk about, Strike Force, and they held the belts for a good distance, a good time. And at the same time, though, and me looking at it, I was like, they had it that long? And I think that most people think about that. You think about Strike Force, they're not at the top of your maybe
Never.
Are they in the top 10? I'm not to take anything away from both of those performers. I love Tito and thought he was a great performer in the ring, and same with Rick. But when you look at them as a tag team and the fact that they did hold those belts for quite some time, and when people may remember they were tag team champions, but not of any major significance.
No.
It's just the way it is. And I think that probably even at that time, Rick probably realized it too. Not that he wasn't incredibly grateful that he, was able to wear a strap for the WWE. And that's certainly great on the resume and looking back. But if anybody remembers Rick Martel, they remember him as a heel run. And I bet he would take great pride in that because it's something that he always wanted. And he talks about these guys they're good looking, you weren't really thought of back then. If you're good looking, had a good physique, you just had to be a baby face. People really couldn't accept the fact that you could just be a nasty, evil person. And he talks about the whole thing is that, you were the baby face, you always got, everything's great. And you say what you want about me. And I can't really say it back. And he says, when you're a heel, all the heat gets to come out. I get to say whatever the hell I want to you because it's part of my character. It's what I do. So, he enjoyed that for a number of reasons. But, and you talk to, I don't know if I've ever talked to a professional wrestler that told me they didn't love a period of time when they got to be a heel, that wasn't their favorite part because, you get to just go, you get to let loose. Being a babyface can be difficult, especially in the world of professional wrestling and the crowds and all you deal with every day. And it's fun in the ring too. You get to be this asshole, and it's just, who doesn't want, who doesn't? Why do we like heel so much? They get to do what we can't do, in public or, at the Home Depot when some jerk, cuts in front of you or whatever, and they get to do that for you. So it's a blast. Everybody loves being a heel, and Rick wanted that opportunity. I think it was something inside of him to prove, how many he'd been told by the bookers and everything all the way along. You're just not. You're a baby face. Come on, and to prove them all wrong, and he did. He was.
Yes.
Who liked the model? I can't believe that guy. He's so freaking narcissistic. He's so full of himself, and he definitely pulled it off.
Oh yeah, I loved him so much.
Yeah.
And when he did first turn heel too, is he had Slick as a manager for a bit because this is the time of, oh, you're a heel, well, you need a manager, and it's only a little bit, and then as time goes on,
Bobby doing? No, he's busy. All right, Slick.
Yeah, Bobby, Jimmy. We're locked up. We're locked up right now. You get Humperdinck. Is he around somewhere? Do we still have Humperdinck here?
Yeah, forgot about Humperdinck.
Yeah,
that wouldn't have worked.
A lot of people probably did, but and I get nothing against him though. Don't hurt me. But I do love the model. But eventually, he starts becoming this model character, and he starts carrying around this thing called Arrogance, which looks like a giant, like get rid of the pests in the old school cartoons.
It's the old bug spray, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just
a
Arrogance. Yeah, but All right, now here's a question for you. If you want to, peel back the curtain, let's get unreal here for a moment. What is inside the Arrogance spray can?
Oh, his the cologne only made for him. I believe it was made in France.
Of course.
I always thought that that it was basically water, but I don't know. There was no scent to it, so you wanted to have some kind of smell or something to it, but I guess if you put anything in there, it could have been dangerous when you're spraying it in people's faces. But I always thought because I know that they experimented. They had the big giant perfume bottle that had the little hand thing, and it just didn't spray very well, and but the bug sprayer thing, you got that thing with a big mist would come out. So that's what they settled with, and the Arrogance on the side, but you couldn't get it. It's just his.
Out.
It was just his own, which I'm kind of surprised. I think today they would have Arrogant. They would have a cologne,
100%.
right? And that would have been part of the merchandising deal. But no, it was just it was a private stock just for him because he was that special, and no one else could wear it.
Makes sense.
I always loved seeing what I would do. I would kind of play it up, but Gene was just so funny when he'd be like, hey, like
yeah,
like, and Rick would be spraying him, and Gene would be just going crazy. But that was effective, but that was like a bug sprayer. So I guess that was part of the heel aspect of it, because so big. If you think back, Steve, of all the people that wore too much cologne, in most cases they were assholes. They put like the guys that just put too much on for they just because I'm just that special. Everybody love and I want you to smell me coming. I want to be in another room and it's just wafting in.
I want to know you're here by smelling you from the other room.
That's but you knew people like that. I certainly did.
I still do.
Yeah. We're not mentioning names.
No, I will not mention my friend Ben's name.
It was the gimmick. The gimmick worked, and I was really happy for Rick because it showed a whole new side of him and kind of jump started him again and gave him another nice run with the WWE.
I think it gave him an identity because Strikeforce was just like, you are just a baby face. Hey, everybody, I'm here. Have a good time. I'm going to give him 110%. That's what I'm going to do. If I lost. Well, I guess I'll try it next time. Like that was him. This time it's fun. You bring up the giant bug sprayer too, because as a child, you'd see Bruce the Barber Beefcake not walking around with scissors, but hedge clippers. And you're like, are you cutting people's hair with that? But in reality, it's, hey, man, you're in a 20,000 person arena. I need to see. It's like watching a play. Everything's got to be bigger. So this giant ass bug sprayer. And I did love Vince even on commentary. He's like, oh, I can smell it from here. Like, oh, jeez. Like, sir, how can you
sell,
where
baby,
are you?
Sell.
You're right about selling the cologne, though, because in the Attitude Era, I remember the commercials. It was like Stone Cold Steve Austin, DX, The Undertaker. They only wear one thing. WWF cologne. And you're like, what? They do? And so in today's world, people would have bought up Arrogance and the big sprayer. Oh, shit. That'd be back here right now. That'd be a replica sprayer. Boom. Be hanging out right there.
That would have been brilliant, right? Not the normal cologne bottle, but have it as a little tiny, like a little bug sprayer.
Yes.
In the morning. Yeah. But it's funny you mentioned those the gimmicks. Everything had to be huge, and I know, like with Brutus, they initially thought maybe we could have a big pair of scissors, and then like the ones they have for the ribbon cuttings at buildings, that never work, and they realized that they were just too weird to try and wield, to do. So that's what with the hedge clippers, you got two hedge clippers, you got the two handles there, and you can do the chopper thing. So there was experimentation there, and it was same with the models. We mentioned they had the big perfume bottle with the little the squeezy thing that you would, and that didn't work. So bug sprayer it was. And as we get to that Brother Love performance, I was a little disappointed on how it all went down.
Oh,
I was.
Well, you were upset that on the Brother Love show that Jake was there and the model showed up, and model is afraid of snakes, probably just like a common man, not Dusty Rhodes, of course, a regular common man. And he starts spraying the snake with the arrogance while Jake's not paying attention. Well, when Jake goes to stop him, it seems to be an accident that suddenly the spray has popped up right into Jake's eyes. He goes down. He felt like someone shot him in the face. And that's where we lead into the backstage segments with the blindfold. He's got gauze all over his eyes. He's screaming. The doctors don't know what they're doing. But what are you upset about that? Are you upset with Brother Love for not standing in and helping?
No. Would Brother Love step in and help anybody?
Unless it was, love you.
Yeah, sure. I don't think he loved anybody but himself.
Oh, no. And his rings, his 10 rings.
Yeah. And the red paint. Yeah.
That was his face. You're so mean. That was his natural skin color.
Sure. That's why it showed up all over his collar right when he was. Yeah, that was it. That was another thing I had an issue. I don't understand why. They at least could have found better makeup. But anyway, I digress. Okay. But getting back to the incident and the whole thing, I think worked really well. It was great, that Jake finally comes out after the model drones on with Brother Love, and Brother Love's been berating Jake about the snake, the stinky, smelly snake, and Martel, the models behind him, spraying all over the place. He said spraying the snake, and then we build up to the climax, and I had to look at it a couple of times. That you barely see him spraying him in the eyes. It was so quick. I wanted to see like a full force right in the face, and they have the camera angle right so you see it, and the glisten on his forehead and cheeks and on that eyes. And then I'm like, oh my God. It was just like, no, I mean, and then they had to, and I think they realized it too, as you during the commentary, you're like, oh, he got him directly in the eyes. Oh my God. Oh my. And I just thought, like, all the blocking of that, guys, and all the stuff that we do, and and that was it. They had guys that would go out with the handheld cameras. We had them at ringside. Why wasn't there one around there? So when that happened, you see it, and then we're right. And then why? And I thought, and then Rick should have got it, get a couple more shots right there in the face. It didn't happen, but they sold it well. I mean, Jake sold it. Ooh, did he sell it? And the commentators, the commentary on it was just over the top, shall we say? And off to the races we went. That we had Jake blinded by.
Now, here's the question for you. Now, I have a question. Is about this thing, because it's Rick Martel doesn't like the stinky snake. Jake gets too close to the sprayer. He gets it in the eyes.
Yeah.
Did the model accidentally spray Jake in the face, or did he do it on purpose?
Is this thing working? You okay in there?
Hey, it was an accident.
I have to. Oh, okay. Let's play it that way, Fall. Okay, we'll do it.
Hey, I think of the model.
Let me just say this. Let's say he took it. Let's say he took advantage of an opportunity. Maybe he hadn't. It wasn't. When I go out, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to make sure I get him right in the eyes. I think the model took advantage of an opportunity, shall we say?
Okay.
Right. And knew that it was going to set off a firestorm, which it did, leading up to WrestleMania VII. And what we saw happen there. Yeah.
But there's a lot that happens between that. And the big thing, though, is now Jake, anytime you see him, they do these promos backstage or in the hospital. He's wearing gauze like he's gone blind completely. And he's trying to walk around. He's knocking things over. He's learning because he can't see. Eventually, he does a promo and he's talking sideways like this. And then he turns to the camera and it's revealing that his eye is missing. You're like, oh my God, it's all white. It's all clouded over. And that, to me, the reveal is one of those holy shit moments. But when I interviewed Jake a few years ago and I asked him about this contact, well, spoiler alerts, it's a contact, he told me he wear that shit around. He went to the grocery store with that contact in. He walked everywhere to make sure that people saw him and they thought he actually was blind. To me, that is pure dedication, because it's very easy to be like, oh, I broke my arm on TV. I have a cast. Oh, I take my cast off. I'm going to go to my son's soccer game this weekend. No, Jake's like, I can't see, help.
Yeah. Well, and you know, if you know Jake's background, he's old school. He came from that in a family that was all about professional wrestling. And back then, you sold in and out of the ring. The heels and the baby faces did not mix when they went into public. If you ran into them in a bar, you'd stay on one end, they'd stay on the other. They didn't travel together. They didn't stay together. And we can you imagine today with social media how much you could really put that stuff over, you know, with it, as we've seen. But you know, the curtain's back now, so they don't have to do this. We all know what it is. But back then, you know, they extended reality suspended beyond the arena, not just the ring, beyond the arena. And when they went out, and Jake was committed, and even if it was a chance run, because he still wanted to go out in the public, he wanted to be able to live his life, but he was world famous at that time. Everybody knew who Jake Roberts was. And it was anybody who was following the WWE at the time knew what was happening. And suddenly he's having no problem. It's like the insurance investigator following you around. Like, wait a minute. You couldn't see yesterday. Now what? You're here and everything's fine. I think that he probably could have gotten away with maybe a dark pair of sunglasses wearing everywhere, but he took it. He took it all the way. And the question is here, was he really blind? In a sense that, okay, one eye is out. He's partially blind, or what? And it's just a crazy question, but I guess he couldn't go with both. That would have been really tough at the grocery store.
That'd be tough.
The
just
two contacts in.
Be like, okay, Jake, you're blind out of both
too complicated,
eyes.
I know, Steve, but I think about these things, and I thought about them then.
I love that idea.
Only one eye got hit. Okay.
I do like that though, because they do try to suggest he's blind, like not out of one eye.
Yes,
because they do segments with like Rick Martel has a cane and Brother Love, and they're pretending he's blind, walking around, and then Jake comes out and he's in his Cosby sweater and he can't see, and he falls over like he can't see, like he's blind completely, and then the glasses fall off and you do see one eye. So I'm thinking to myself, well, why is one eye completely
even you were
clouded
thinking
over
back then? And it doesn't sell as quite as well if you say, and look at him, he's partially blind. Like, yeah, well, he's got another one, I guess. No, but we're just making light of that storyline. But yes, it was back then. People accepted a lot, like this. You could tell them this is the way it is. This is what we're going to. This is our suspended animation, and just go with us. Just go with what we're saying here, and he's blind. Okay,
join the ride.
He can't see.
No. So it's interesting though, but it's still disturbing that Jake's like, yeah, wearing around everywhere, didn't care, gonna sell that shit. Like, yes, you do, sir. And like the first time they have a big matchup though, it's not one-on-one. Jake and Rick Martel, it's not one-on-one yet. It's Survivor Series 1990, my favorite Survivor Series, and this is where you know that Rick Martel really believed in himself, that even Vince McMahon believed in the model character, because this is the first time ever in Survivor Series history that we have a clean sweep in a match. The Visionaries, which is all Rick Martel's team, clean sweep over Jake's team. So the Visionaries, Rick Martel, the Warlord, Hercules, and Paul Roma defeat Jake the Snake, Jimmy Snuka, and the Rockers. Rick Martel's team wins, beats everybody. And then they go into the main event of the Survivor Series called the grand finale. All the winners of all the matches all night long eventually hit the end in a big match. All the good guys versus all the bad guys. So technically, Rick Martel main evented his first ever and last ever pay-per-view at Survivor Series 1990. The model character doing pretty well if he's getting a clean sweep, right?
Yeah. Oh, and those were, well-known, very accomplished, top of the card kind of guys. So yeah, that was victory. That victory counted big time. You're taking people out like the Rockers and these guys. It really did. And I think that you have to realize at that point, if that's what's happening, they're pushing you. They are behind you. And so, that was a really good sign that that's what was happening for Rick, because they didn't just do that. And especially when you're setting, history of the event. So, there was no small effort behind that. And the fact that they did that really was kudos to Rick Martel and the other people in the ring that day.
And I don't think you have a clean sweep on a team until I think 2006, when it's DX, the Hardy Boys, and CM Punk all together on one team defeating, Edge and Randy Orton and their team. So it takes a long time for another team out of Survivor Series history to have a clean sweep in a match. And again, the model wasn't the main event, so we did get to take on Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and his former tag team partner, Tito Santana. That was on one side. The other side was the Visionaries and the $1 Million Man. So I would say, it's pretty awesome if you're the model, realizing that you believed in yourself and it's turning out to be true, because you're clean sweeping, you're the main event, and you're fighting Hogan and Warrior all in the same exact night. It's pretty awesome that this one storyline really helped him get his career on the path he wanted it, because it's not like he had a bad career ever, but now it's all working out. Not for Jake, though, because in that match, he can't see. He still has that one eye contact. So when he gets in the ring, it's 1-on-4. And the visual of Jake in the corner, he's like holding onto the corner. He's trying to get like all pumped. He realizes, I got one eye and I got 4 guys. I got to fight here. But then they clothesline him on this blind side, and it's pretty much over from there.
Never saw it coming. Yeah.
Poor Jake.
That's Jake, though. Sold it. Always looking ahead, knowing where that was going to create that heat. And more and more. So, it was culminating, as you mentioned. They did a nice lead up to WrestleMania VII to really get, the ultimate heat for this encounter. And it was different. It was something different, too. I think a lot of people, as you said, you'd never really heard about seeing a match like this. So when everybody's thinking, how in the world are they going to do this? How can they, people may have thought, now they got to be able to see through that thing. But as Rick would recount years later, that it wasn't easy even with that, trying to work that match out. And they did a rehearsal match at one of the TV tapings, which exists. You can actually find that one, and how they kind of worked that dance out, because they didn't really know, how are we going to make this work? You can sit there and talk about it, but then everything is all your spatial awareness is all kind of screwed up when even when you're looking through netting like that. I mean, try it sometime with something that's dark like that, and you may be able to see, but your peripheral vision is gone, and that's really important when you're in there working as well. So they did have a chance to do a kind of rehearsal on it, and said, yeah, we can make this work. Rick saying that, after we got out, and they said, yeah, I think and then what we saw at WrestleMania VII was the end product.
I imagine a rehearsal is necessary for a type of match like that.
Because in a lot of cases they do that. And remember, I told you how we used to have the warehouse where we had a ring there, and the guys would come in and for a certain matchup that required some things to work out, and you really just couldn't do it by discussing it. You had to actually go in there and see, okay, this is how we're going to do this, and that certainly helped in a match like this. It was much needed.
What's even crazier, though, on the road to that WrestleMania VII blindfold match is the Royal Rumble, because you have those promos backstage before the Rumble. People are picking their numbers. Jake's still blind, technically, out of one eye. And Rick the Martel, he does this amazing pose, and he's jacked out. He has thickened out. He looks great. And I remember telling my mom, watching this as a kid, I was like, I want to grow up and be a wrestler. I want to look just like him. And she's like, well, you have to work out. And I was like, probably not going to be a wrestler. But so didn't do that. TV worked out for a little while. But Royal Rumble, 1991, the model breaks a record. He goes 53 minutes in this Royal Rumble. So you're telling me you have a clean sweep at Survivor Series. All right. You main evented against Hogan and Warrior. now you're going to be like the Iron Man in this match while Jake gets eliminated by him, and Jake runs in the ring and he's trying to find the model, and model's squirming around. It's a really nice moment, but the model goes 53 minutes again. Like, how many wrestlers do you know over the years that you worked with maybe have told you an idea or things that they thought they should do and they never get it done because of being afraid of standing up for themselves? The model clearly standing up for himself all panned out very well for this run.
Yeah, and it's not that there weren't others that stood up for themselves and did everything they had to do. It takes a lot. All those as the planets have to line up, but it does show you the commitment and the belief that Vince and Pat and Bruce, at the time had in Rick. They'd gone with him and said, okay, we're going to go with this heel run. And they obviously realized that it was working. It's all about how the fans react to it. So they're not going to keep going with something if it's not working. They had been at it way too long not to know if it was working or not. But that aside, it really does show that this was a big push. That whole period of time was a big push for the model. And all you had to do is look, as you just mentioned, all of the accomplishments along the way then that they were pushing the model Rick Martel big time. And so, and it was working. So that, when you see that happening, you know that you've got the company behind you.
And then WrestleMania, one of the most famous matches of all time. You either love it or you hate it or you have thoughts about it. But there's no doubt that there was a custom match made for this storyline. A lot of people do not get that. Usually, we're going to fight in a steel cage. Well, it's not like you are the wrestler who's associated with the steel cage. Undertaker's associated with casket matches. This blindfold match, it's no one at this time in the WWF fan lore has seen something like this. This might have existed in other companies. It probably has. The storyline probably did. But everything about it in this is fresh in my eyes, and it's fresh in everyone else's eyes. But medical science is also in the eyes of Jake the Snake, because out of nowhere, his eye has been healed. How is this? How is this possible? How does his eye grow back? It just appears one day. Do you have any a real, an explanation? If you were writing the storyline, what would you tell the fans? Why is your eye just better, just healed?
Yes, I think that he followed his doctor's advice, and did what he had to do, and it was healing along the way. And fortunately, by the time it got to that point, it had pretty much a miracle had occurred.
A miracle.
And that happened a lot, where things would happen suddenly. They'd been in a neck brace for however long, then, oh my God, good, let's go. So the interesting part of this match too is that looking back at it, and I think it was almost 9 minutes long, I think is the length of it.
WrestleMania 7.
But like you watch it, and I don't know if they could have pulled it off as well today, with how we are so we've gotten so used to these matches. It's just that, one thing after another. It's just boom, 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 boom. And you had moments here where, they're just looking around for that person, whoever. And Rick's at ringside, he's got the chair and he's just jabbing at air. And, there's moments where there's just a lot happening, and they're trying, and there's not a whole lot of great moves going on, or, in between. And, I don't know if they would have had the patience to let this thing play out and get the payoff today. And even in that, it wasn't really a long matchup, but that was my thinking, watching it, that I don't know if people would have, I don't know if they'd start chanting boring or what, but I just think, back then, people were much more used to seeing how things would play out. You could do an arm bar for how many minutes? But there would be more, and then like to this building, and then people would start boom, boom, clapping or what. So at the time, it really did work, and that I'm sure that the fact that they had a chance to work this through before, that all of it, I thought it was a very entertaining match overall, and especially the timing of it, the when he gets the DDT and finishes it up. I just thought all that worked really well, and that just shows what great performers those two guys are.
True. Now,
Yeah.
I have different perspectives of different ages of how I felt about this. For as long as I can remember, I hated this match. I thought it was boring. I thought it was dumb.
Even then, see? Yeah.
I did not like it then. I was like, this is just what are we doing? We're pointing and we're clapping. And now that's my thought for a long time. Even a wrestling website called wrestlecrap.com, this is like one of their big pieces talking about what a dumb idea this is, what a bad match this is, what about, all this stuff. But if you think about it, well, okay, Rick blinded Jake. Okay, so now Jake wants the model to feel like he did. And we're both going to be blind, but this time it's fair game. You've been picking on me since you blinded me back in October of 1990. Here we are in March of 91. We're going to get revenge on you, but I'll be blindfolded too. You'll be blindfolded, and you're going to feel my pain. Okay, I understand that now in a storyline sense. But visually, without diving deep and using my adult brain to think that through, I thought it was dumb. Because if you didn't watch all of those matches and all that storyline building to all this, like we just did right now, it doesn't have the same feeling. If you blindly, pun intended, if you just put this match on and watch it, okay. But I do love the idea. It's crowd participation. We are going to point, and it's like hot, cold, Marco Polo, where you're getting closer. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. Louder cheers, louder cheers. All right, I run across the ring. Oh, the bad guy moves. I just missed him. Just missed him.
Right, you can hear the crowd too.
We're gonna do it again. We're gonna do it again.
And so I think you get and you get my point that it was different. That's what I liked about it. We hadn't, like I said, it wasn't this new concept, but they made it their own. And as I said, I don't know. I don't think you could pull it off today, because even then, like, you were even a little antsy when you're watching, like, come on, do something.
I wasn't antsy. I was really,
but my appreciation of it was that I was really curious, as I said before, how are they going to do this and make it work? And I think that when they were doing that rehearsal the match, their idea, I don't think they were initially thinking, okay, we got to get the crowd into it and tell me where to go. The crowd started doing that. And that's what and then I think, Jake said, this could work. This is a different, we're bringing them into they're helping me. Yes. They're helping, And so that's, like I said, I found it entertaining in that sense, but it was everything like you said. And that was back then. So I don't think it could work today. And the crowds were, that crowd was, I think it was because they're at the LA Coliseum instead of, not the Coliseum, the arena instead of the Coliseum. And so what are you talking about? Like 20,000 people, but the way they had it, with ringside and stuff like that, you could, I'm not saying you couldn't hear the crowd, but sometimes when it's that big, you can't decipher. It's just one big giant crowd noise. But they got that idea initially during the rehearsal stuff, seeing the crowd get into it. And so that added a whole different new aspect to it. And I always thought after that, how could they capitalize on that and do it more somehow?
Right. Yeah.
To where you've got the crowd feels like we were kind of part of that, and but I just really couldn't really think of other ways you could, but we've seen it happen since, but I would remember thinking back then, this is kind of brilliant that they brought, got the crowd into it, that are actually directing and helping him. So overall, like I said, I just thought it was an entertaining match. It was very different, and it was kind of a nice way to pay that off. It made a lot of sense. As you said, Jake said, look what the suffering I went through, and now you're going to experience a taste of what I've had to endure.
Yeah.
So
it was cool. And now
Yeah,
it's
it
cool.
worked for me.
I love it now. Like I love the
Yeah.
idea of it now. I'm like, oh man, the crowd's involved, and
Yeah.
we're both going to go to a nice slow pace, and the crowd's going to dictate the pace of this match. Okay, cool. And they get so excited when they almost get close, when they touch the referee, and it's the, I love that aspect of it. But at the time, for like 20 years of my life, I would agree with WrestleCrap.com and think, this is not a good idea, because you're expecting to pay to see wrestling, but you see something else. But what you're seeing is a payoff of a storyline. So it really depends on what you're looking for, because I bet $1 million to one, someone absolutely loves this match or loves WrestleMania 7. It's their favorite WrestleMania, like because they started watching then, or they're a Jake guy, or they're a model guy or girl. So in reality, this could be someone's favorite, or this could be someone's worst. And so really up to you, I think. Yeah. Do you love the blindfold match? Do you hate the blindfold match? It's up to you. But what I love is that contact for this whole time, man. That thing still haunts me to this day. Still haunts me.
And the thing is, Steve, when it's art, sometimes it's a Monet and sometimes it's a Picasso, where you're just it's just weird look, but still art. And that, to me, and also I think about, you remember what WrestleMania 7 was all about, with
stars and stripes.
Yes, and so it was there was a lot going on in that whole WrestleMania 7, as we have discussed at length. But I thought this was a nice different angle to that whole giant event, and it was very different. And like I said, I enjoyed it. I was looking at it from maybe a different point of view of how you're going to pull it off, and I thought they did. And when the DDT and him taking care of him, and it was okay, dude. I finished this, and so it worked. It worked for me.
Yeah, and Jake eventually quits the WWE in 1992. Rick the Martyr Martel eventually leaves in 1992, returning later on in 93 for a little while, have a small run, and that's pretty much the end of the model. But at this time, though, the model was on fire, because his outfits, his again, the arrogance, his pink clothes, everything about him was a perfect thing to boo and hate. Jake the Snake Roberts, after this, though, as we talked about in our 91 podcast about when Vince fires the Warrior, how after this, it's supposed to be Jake and Warrior and a title run and things of that nature, does not pan out.
Yeah.
What an amazing storyline that just goes nowhere, because Jake has to eventually turn heel to fill in that spot, and then takes on Macho Man, which creates another amazing storyline. But I think Jake would have rather have been fighting Warrior and then maybe become world champion, versus sticking at King Cobra on the Macho Man and never getting a championship opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said, it just always seemed to somehow work out that way for Jake, because I mean, I honestly, I could have seen him with I think he could have pulled off being a world champion. I could have seen him with the belt. He was that good. And he was at the top of the lineup there for a long time, and could go toe to toe with everybody and make everybody better, and make those storylines great, because he had his own ideas that were, from the point with Earthquake and the initial when Earthquake squashes Damien, and the idea was that Jake was going to be knocked out, and Jake's like, no, I need to be tied up in the ropes because I have to see it. That was, the way he thought about, he could look at situations and help them make it better. And it's just amazing to me that it just always seemed to, something would happen. And many times through no fault of his own, he still had a incredible career, but I think we all realize it could have even been much more than the way it played out. Getting back to Rick, you think about that point, he was kind of peaking at that. What do you do with him after that? I don't know if I would have ever seen him as a WWF champion.
Maybe Intercontinental champion. You know,
Yeah, certainly.
like
Certainly,
a mount. He reminds me of the Mountie. Like the Mountie has a shock stick.
Yeah.
Model has the arrogance. Like you're giving someone a weapon, you're giving someone a loudmouth, and they're just one's French and acting like a model. One is Canadian acting like a Mountie. Like there's no difference except you decided one was going to be better than the other.
Right, but you also think of their star power, and when it comes to it, can they be there? And I think at that point, I'm certain that Rick felt he could have, but I don't think that upper management did. I don't think that the triumvirate of the guys that were calling the shots back then thought that. And I think at some point Rick realized too this was probably it, and something he should to this day be incredibly proud of, because as you said, he had a vision of what he was going to do, how far he would want to take it, and he got there. He was in that ring with Hulk Hogan. He was in that ring with Warrior. He was in the ring with all these heavyweights, so to speak. It's not just weights, but who were the top guys, and was right there and belonged there. So, but you get you hit that ceiling, and I think he saw that, and also as he talks about later that he just grew tired of it too. He mentioned he lost a sister who was I think in her 40s, and it kind of hit him. He was very close to her, and he realized how much he had missed with not just her, but everybody else around him who meant something. And we've talked about many times the price that these guys pay. And I think at that point he was starting to realize, and he would go on, he was still wrestling into the 90s, well into the 90s, but really started thinking about, okay, what am I going to do from here? And fortunately, he was a really smart and shrewd guy, and saved his money and invested in commercial real estate. And I think that's something he'd always loved, and decided at some point that that's what he was going to do and be able to have his own life where he wasn't on the road, 200 and something days a year.
Yeah, there's a lot to combo in there with Martel exiting in 91 for a while and then coming back because, he, again, his sister passes away. He's been on the road forever. He got to rest. He needs to rest. And again, that run was great. He left in 93, went to WCW for a little bit, and then it was done. And then the last time that I recall seeing him ever do anything was he was on a Dark Side of the Ring episode about Dino Bravo. And that was, he even sat down. He's like, this is the last time I'm doing an interview. This is the last time I'm talking about this subject. And here we go. And he gave his thoughts and his feelings and all about that. So that's the last time I think we'll ever see him. Jake the Snake Roberts, though, we've been talking about, we've done maybe like 25 episodes here on the Golden Era podcast with you. And it's awesome we've done that. But what I've come to realize is some heels have these peaks. They go all the way up. And then once they hit it, there's nowhere else to go. So you go down, $1 Million Man, double referees. Where to go from there? You have to go down. Rick the Martel blinds Jake. We're up here. We have to go down there. It happens to all of them. But with Jake, I would have to say he has the greatest storylines in the Golden Era. We have Hogan versus Savage, and that's a year long, and things of that nature, him and Andre. But Jake, he's got Andre afraid of snakes. He's getting blinded. He's having a King Cobra trying to get the Macho Man. He's torturing Warrior with like his dark magic ways of turning him evil. Dude, I don't think. And also Damien being killed by Earthquake. You cannot, I don't think, top Jake the Snake in the Golden Era in storylines.
Yeah. And I think, and a lot of those were of his making. And if they weren't of his making, he made them better. Where he just, and that certainly is going to help you out tremendously. And as I said, he'd come up, his whole life he'd been around wrestling and had seen every storyline. And when you talk to some of the greats, and they mention about certain runs that they had, and they'll talk about well, I remember Brett used to do this all the time. He was very much a student of the game, and he would see something in a match that somebody's doing. He'd think like, man, that's good. I'm going to save that, put that. And then he'd find a way to work it in later on in some other situation that he was in. And, just being and knowing that psychology, that's another thing with the way people, the best of the best and the guys that were so good at doing their promos, is that they were really incredible at being able to read people, that, not just crowds, but they knew what would make people react. And that was a gift that Jake had when he would do those promos, and he would just that slow burn and stuff, say things, like about, Jack Tunney. When I came into this world, I didn't know how to lie. I don't know how to steal. I didn't, and he said, but, after I met you, or after being, you taught me. Yeah. Just brilliant stuff. And that's the gift of the best of the best, is not only what they do in the ring, but it's their ability to read people, to know what it is that's going to make them react, what it is that's going to, get them angry, what it is that's going to make them, joyous, what it is, the timing of when to do it. It's I've heard it described by some of them, say, it's like directing an orchestra, in a sense of knowing, when I do this, that I'm going to get that over there. When I do this, I got the strings over here. Here's the brass. It really, there's, I don't know anyone who's really done a deep dive into that, the psychology of it, but they all know about it. They've all talked about it. And, Ted DiBiase is the classic example of that, is saying that, at one point they wanted him to become, a booker and do some, and do some stuff with the boys. And he said, I can't do that, but I know how to do it. Does that make sense? But he would be in, and it was just this natural ability of, whether or not it came through experience or whatever, but they just knew right when to do what, when to do this, whatever. He couldn't pass it on. There are those that had that ability to do it. I think Dusty Rhodes is one of those people. He was very instrumental at FCW when he was down there in the school, the beginnings of NXT. That he was very instrumental in helping a lot of those young guys. So, but that really is, I think that was what was Jake's gift to the business, is that he had that ability. He wasn't the greatest, didn't have the greatest physique, kind of had these skinny little legs, had the little paunch going all the time. But my God, was he tremendous in the ring. But outside of the ring, man, not few could touch him. Few, up there of the Mount Rushmore of promo guys that he's on my mountain. He is definitely one of those, because man, did it differently. Something was all his own, and was great. And I think that's what helped him stay up on top among that group for so very long.
You're so right about that too. Like, yeah. He I think gets a lot of credit online from wrestling fans, but like when you have to go back and people are like, "Oh, his best promo," everyone's like, "The Rock, John Cena, Stone Cold." Yeah. But Jake the Snake didn't have to yell and have catchphrases. He would whisper to you and make you get closer and closer and closer, where you could feel like maybe he's gonna grab me from the TV somehow. Like, he is one of those guys, and you're right. He is part of that Mount Rushmore. In that blindfold match at WrestleMania 7, we talked about it before, but WrestleMania 7 is not a prized WrestleMania. It's a WrestleMania that was covered in controversy, which we talked about in an hour-long episode about Sergeant Slaughter being an Iraqi sympathizer. But on that card, you really only have Hogan and Slaughter, Warrior and Savage, and this blindfold match. It was specially made for this storyline. And it goes from October, it goes to WrestleMania, and after that, it's done. But as I said earlier at the top, man, 10 o'clock in the morning, trying to eat my cereal and my PJs, and there's Jake screaming about he's blind and his contact, which I did not understand movie magic, so I thought his eye was really gone. And I thought that was possible for a long
never to
time.
be seen again, Steve. But
his eye grew
miraculously, it got better.
Yeah. It was who was a doctor? Dr. Thugonomics. It was John Cena. He was there. He was helping him out, and maybe, but no, time traveling. But no, I'm really happy we talked about Jake because he is such a character we haven't really dived into. Besides that time he punched Liz in the face and then had a snake bite Macho Man. But this is another storyline which it grabs you and brings you in and goes, man, I love this golden era, and I'm loving everyone's comments about our episodes because they call you the Moon Man. They're so happy to see Sean Mooney back out there sharing his stories. And, you know, this episode is airing probably 4 weeks after we did our Hulk Hogan episode about passing away. And everybody is feeling a warm hug from Sean Mooney's voice, who grew up with Hulk Hogan. And that's a lot of comments we've gotten about that, saying that you have helped them, Sean, through their tough times right now in this world. So thank you for allowing us and me to hear your stories every week here, and especially sharing the ones about our fallen brothers.
Yeah, and it's sad, but there's not many of us left from that era that were a part of it. It is breaks my heart every time we lose another one. And Hulkster was tough, man. It was, and I got a lot of comments, Steve, as you mentioned. It made me feel really good that people liked hearing my perspective and remembering those days. But it was a really, really special time. And, you know, it's amazing that you talk about the comments. People, only my closest friends call me the Moon Man, and you're all welcome to do that. I love that. That's awesome. But it is, and it took me a while to understand it, but now I totally get it. And I know I was blessed to be a part of that period of time. But it was, it was really great to see how many people commented on how Hulk Hogan impacted professional wrestling, and outside of everything else, people can't deny that. And it also represents, I think, something much bigger than even Terry Bollea. It represents all of that together, with Hulkamania and really the beginning of what we saw happen, and it's all a part of everybody who has come since. The Warrior, the Macho Man, on and on, The Rock, Stone Cold, the great people we've seen since. And that was the beginning of it. I think that's why it really did and continues to hit people really hard, because it was even beyond Terry. And it, to me, that's why, like I said, it was a real gut punch, because I just kind of felt like, it's over. That's gone forever. And so anyway, thank you for those comments, but and really thank you for everybody who's been following us, and I'm really enjoying it. It's awesome.
Me too. So stop texting me at 1 a.m. when I'm sleeping. But no, seriously, folks. So as we brought up a little while ago, that like Jake the Snake is part of that group of people who was always on top. Hogan, Warrior, Savage, Jake, Hacksaw. These other people who have created core memories, and I'm glad we are supplying the memories again with your voice and my questioning all day long here. And he thought we couldn't do an hour about Jake going blind. Liar. Well, thanks so much for being here on the Golden Era podcast. I'm Steve File. He's Sean Mooney. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Did you get it? Pun. See ya. Bye.